Hello everyone and welcome to episode 57 of my Guild Wars 2 Let's Play series. We are back to our Asuran engineer, and it has been quite some time since we have played this character, and I am excited to be back because we have a lot of stuff to explore and a lot of stuff to do on this character, where I am wanting to progress to chapter 5 of the Guild Wars 2 personal story on this character, where we have recently completed chapter 3, so we're going to have to do chapter 4 really quickly in order to get to chapter 5, and we're also going to have to get to level 50, so there is quite a few things that I want to do in this episode. But starting off, I want to do something very fun. And several episodes ago, when we were on our Savari Necromancer for the first time ever, we began to explore crafting in this game, and we learned how to do some artificing and some tailoring, and then since then we have done a little bit of crafting on some other characters. But I want to look at a very specific crafting discipline in the game that is pretty unique compared to everything else in the game, where there are 3 armor crafting trading disciplines and 3 weapon crafting trading disciplines, one for each of the armor weights in the game, so light, heavy, and medium, and then the 19 different weapons that exist in the game. And then there are 3 other crafting disciplines, one of which was introduced in Heart of Thorns and is related to the guild halls, one of which is jewel crafting and is pretty similar to the other crafting disciplines that I just talked about. And then the third of which is cooking, which is very unique and has some very fun special things, including an in-game content that we are going to explore way down the road. But for now, I want to take our first step into cooking. And is this where we have to go for cooking? Or is it? Oh yeah, it's right here. And we can go ahead and learn how to cook. So let's come talk to the master chef here, where we can talk to him and please teach me to be a chef. Yes, I understand. Please teach me to be a chef. And we have already leveled up to level 33, which is good for us. And really quickly, if we come into our character adventure guide here, we are probably about to gain a lot of levels because we'll complete these 2 and then we'll go do one of these or something, and then we'll start adventure guide 3, which some stuff might already be progressed towards. But let's go ahead and dive deep into cooking, and we can do this for the next few minutes of this episode, where if we open up our cooking menu here, we start with these simple ingredients. So if we look at stuff like loaf of bread, we see we need to have a jug of water, a bag of flour, and a packet of yeast. And if you look at this kind of makes sense to what we know in real life. Of course, there are more ingredients for like a typical loaf of bread than just these 3 things. And then when you look at like other types of bread, there's like different ingredients and like different starters and stuff depending on like what bread you want to make. But starting off with Guild Wars 2 bread, we just need these 3 ingredients, which are actually pretty simple ingredients to get because you buy them from the master chef here or from other merchants in the world. Where if we come here, we can see that there are a ton of cooking supplies here, including a backpack frame that I might as well just go ahead and learn. But we can go ahead and buy a ton of vinegar, and then baking powder, vegetable oil, salt, sugar, water, starch, flour, soy sauce. So let's just go buy all of that. And then we bought all of that, and I don't think this used to be the case back in the day, but we can go ahead and throw these into our material storage there, which is so nice. And let's go ahead and come back to the cooking station here, and we can come down to the loaf of bread, and we need to buy a packet of yeast, which I forgot to buy. And I forgot to buy it because there are other tabs here where we can buy these cooking supplies for copper. But if you come into here, there is some cooking supplies that we can only buy with karma. So let's go ahead and do the same thing, where we can buy some cheese wedges, we can buy some buttermilk, we can buy that yeast we need, we can buy some rice, and we can buy some sour cream. And then if we come here, we have tomatoes, a ginger root, basil, and bell peppers. And we can go ahead and open all these and get quite a few items here from all these bags. Each one of these bags that we bought has 25 of the items that we bought. So I just bought a full stack here, even though I only bought 100 of the other ones, so it's whatever. And we can go ahead and deposit those and come back to the cooking station here, where we can go ahead and make some loaves of bread. So let's go ahead and make 10 just for fun, where of course with cooking we can eat the food that we make. So we have these 10 loaves of bread here, where for 15 minutes when we eat one, we get 20 vitality, which is plus 200 health. and we get plus 10% experience gain from kills, which is very nice. But let's go ahead and move away from a loaf of bread, which is a pretty basic item that we can just make with all these items, and we can look at something like a ball of dough, where if you hover over this, we can't eat this. You typically don't want to eat a ball of dough, but you use this in order to make other items. So we can use a jug of water, a bag of flour, and a stick of butter. And let's go ahead and just craft one of these for now. And if we come into our discovery panel here, we can see a bunch of different ingredients here, where some of these ingredients we just bought, like these basil leaves, but then we have other things like blackberries, like cinnamon sticks, like celery stalk, like blueberries, like an apple, that we have collected over the last 56 and a bit episodes of playing Guild Wars 2, where we can go ahead and use these items for cooking. And this is a very fun mini game because it's similar to the other types of discovery and crafting disciplines, but with other crafting disciplines it's pretty straightforward, where you want to make like 2 items for whatever piece of armor or weapon you're making, and then you want to throw an inscription or whatever the one for armor insignia into the discovery tree here, and then you make that item that has specific stats depending on the inscription or insignia you used. Where with cooking, you have to be a little creative, where most of the recipes that you learn in the game, or maybe about half of them now actually, are from discovery, and the other half you get from cooking recipes that you get in a variety of different ways around the world, most prominently from like different merchants that we have bought some. I don't think we bought any actually yet, but then some others in the future as well. But discovery, one of the main ways we're going to learn new recipes, and one of the main ways that we are going to level up, where I guess let's go ahead and take this loaf of bread, and we can see that we put it into our little crafting menu here, and we have 11 possible unknown recipes that use loaves of bread. And then we can see here with the ones that are red require our chefing to be a little bit higher level than it currently is. So to use like the basil leaf, we need to be chef level 50, but the stuff that isn't red we can use right now. And a very cool thing about Guild Wars 2, like I mentioned earlier with the loaf of bread, is it's not 100% accurate, but a lot of recipes just make a lot of sense. So if we come into here and we throw in a stick of butter, let's go ahead and take a loaf of bread and a stick of butter, combine the two together, and we get a slice of buttered toast. That makes a lot of sense. Buttered toast is, a single slice from a loaf of bread, and then a little bit of a stick of butter, unless you're really into butter. But we made buttered toast like that. And then let's go ahead, use the loaf of bread again, throw in an onion, required rating 100, so we can't make that just yet. A slab of red meat, let's go ahead and make this. So a slab of red meat and a loaf of bread is going to make a hamburger, which, a little fun fact here, hamburgers are my all-time favorite food for whatever reason. I just really love hamburgers, but we just made that hamburger. And now that we have made those 2 items, we cannot use a loaf of bread until we reach chef level 50. That's going to be like the next combination of ingredients we can use. But let's go ahead and take this ball of dough, and then we have a ton of different things here. Let's take this apple, required rating 25, so not yet. 25, let's try to find something here. All of them seem to be 25. So I think there are some items that we can use with a ball of dough right now in order to make something. There's 27 possible unknown recipes, but since we don't have every single item in the game, if we come into our material storage here and scroll all the way down to cooking materials, we can see all of these items that we've collected that are highlighted and have a number next to them, or no number but just a single icon right there, like the dill sprig. And then we have all of the other items around here that we can collect some of that we can use in the future. So we are not going to be able to create every single item right now, but let's go ahead and come back into our production here, and then we can see we can make a slice of buttered toast now, which is very cool. Let's go ahead and make a bowl of poultry stock and red meat stock, and let's go ahead and make some cinnamon and sugar and some salt and pepper. So these are seasonings that are going to be important for cooking. And let's go ahead and come back into here and see what we can do now. So we have a pile of cinnamon and sugar and an apple, combine the two, and what are we going to get? A cinnamon apple. So that definitely makes a lot of sense. So let's come back into production here, where we can see that there are some new items coming up once you reach chef level 25 that we can make. Let's make another cinnamon and sugar, where we are kind of low on cinnamon sticks. We could buy more if we wanted to, but they are nearly 6 silver each, which is kind of a lot at like the very start of the game. But if we come back down here, I'll throw in the cinnamon and sugar, eggs, 125, 125, 400, so that's going to be a while. So a ball of dough with a pile of cinnamon and sugar is going to give us a cinnamon pinwheel, which is very fun. And that's a very cool icon. I really like the cooking icons. Like this hamburger looks pretty close to an actual hamburger. But let's come back into production here, and we could make like another hamburger if we wanted to for some experience. It leveled us up a little bit, but I really like to focus on just discovery here, where I don't know how much more we can make with what we currently have. But here's something I just discovered: a packet of salt, a mushroom, and a jar of vegetable oil. Combine the 3 together, we get grilled mushrooms. And that means we're now chef level 25. So let's come back into here. Let's make a bowl of staple soup vegetables, which we only have 1 celery stalk, so we can only make 1 of those. And then if we come into here, we can make a bottle of simple dressing, which we will need to make more salt and pepper if we want to make more of those. Let's make 1 more right now because we just used that up. And then let's come back into here, a bowl of poultry stock with a bowl of staple soup vegetables, level 50. Egg, nope, 125, 50 with the flour, 25 with the slab of poultry meat, a carrot. So we have a bowl of poultry stock, a slab of poultry meat, and a carrot. If I were to guess, this is probably going to be something like maybe some sort of like chicken soup or something like that. Let's see what it makes. It makes basic poultry soup. So that's basically what I said, but a more generic term. It looks like a chicken in the icon there, that's kind of just dead and raw and coming out of the bowl of broth right there, if you can see that, which is kind of an interesting icon. Let's come back here. Staple soup vegetables, I think we just looked at that, but if you look at cinnamon apple, we can look at blueberry, we can look at sugar, and we can combine these 3 together to get a bowl of blueberry apple compote, which I think that's how you pronounce that, which is very cool. So we can see that we used some of the cooking items to make other cooking items, which is a trend that we are going to see throughout this adventure here. I just threw a bottle of simple dressing and a head of lettuce together. Is this going to make a salad? And it is a bowl of simple salad. I threw a parsley leaf, a stick of butter, a carrot, or maybe like a roasted carrot or something like that. A bowl of sauteed carrots, so kind of similar. I just threw a potato and a packet of salt. Is this going to be a baked potato? A cup of potato fries, which is a lot more fun, for me at least. I prefer fries over baked potatoes. That might be sacrilegious to some other people. Let's go ahead and make another ball of dough here, because I see this recipe, or where was it? Bag of sugar, blueberries, stick of butter. With all these 4 together, we make a blueberry tart. Buttermilk, butter, baking powder, and flour. This is giving me like roux vibes or something like that. Oh, it's a buttermilk biscuit, so I guess that makes a little bit more sense given the fact that we have buttermilk in there. So let's go ahead and take that. I can make another ball of dough here. Throw this in here. We have a pile of salt and pepper with a slab of red meat. Combine the 2 together and we get a grilled steak. And I think that's where I'm going to call it for now with cooking. So let's go ahead and get our level up reward here. I'll get the speed boost, and we have all these items here that we can eat, and we could also sell some on the trading post if we want. That looks like we can sell this for 50 copper, a bowl of sauteed carrots, and I'll save a couple of items, but I'll sell most of them for now. And if we need these in the future, we can just make more since we are a chef. Which, now that I have completed everything that I wanted to do with cooking this episode, we now have a journey ahead of us of reaching level 50. And there is some stuff that I want to do, but for the most part, at the level we are at right now, we have pretty much explored everything in the Road of Tyria up to this level. So we are done with Dredgehog Cliffs, so the next zone is Timberline Falls, starting at level 50. I'm currently working on Bloodtide Coast, which we basically need to be level 50 for. I'm working on Hrathi Hinterlands, which we could go do a little bit of, but I'm also doing that on my Sylvari character, and we also have to be a little bit higher level for the part that I am doing right now. And then we also have the Iron Marches, which is the next zone in Ascalon we were going to, which requires us to be level 50. So pretty much all the zones we have available for us right now, we have fully explored in depth. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to spend some time running around the world. We can go ahead and do a little bit of map completion, and we can also do chapter 4 of the personal story, and we can get to a point that I want to continue on with leveling, which I think I'm going to combine all of that down into like a 30 or a 60-second time lapse. So go ahead and sit back and enjoy this next 3 or however many hours of gameplay condensed down into like 30 to 60 seconds. I ran into this wall here. Well, now that we are done with that, let's go ahead and start working on some other things, where after having done all of that, we are almost halfway through level 48. And for the rest of the episode, I just want to focus on a few other things, where first of all, I want to talk about a very interesting thing that you might have noticed a little bit of in the little short time lapse that I just did, where we have the daily Wizard's Vault objectives right here in the top right corner of our screen. And I guess I'll go ahead and highlight the system now, and we can look at it more in the future as well. But if you go back a few episodes, I talked about the daily system in Guild Wars 2, where we actually talked about it here in the Fields of Ruin, and then a few episodes later I talked about how the daily system was being revamped in the newest expansion to a new system called the Wizard's Vault that we see here. And the expansion has been out for a while, and we have the Wizard's Vault, and I mentioned a couple of episodes ago that we would be looking at it in the future, because if you come up here, this feature will unlock at level 80, and if you press it, nothing happens. If I press Shift H, I'm pressing it, nothing's happening. We cannot open it, but we can open it by clicking here, which I think this is a bug, and this is unintentional, and this is not supposed to be happening, but it's happening. Where another very interesting thing that I kind of pointed out is how we have the login reward right here that we can get, and we can claim it like this, but it was automatically claiming earlier when we were like just playing and logging in. And then when I did all these dailies during that time lapse, I got a little bit of extra of this new currency here called Astral Claim, where we now have daily objectives which act very similar to the dailies we have looked at in the future, which reset every day, and we can get some money from doing this, and we can get the special currency and some other stuff, and we can complete all of this. But we also have weekly objectives, which I'm actually pretty close to this one, which is basically the same thing as dailies, but it's like more of like everything. We get like more of this currency, and we get some special rewards, no gold from doing it, but we get some like special stuff there. And then we have special objectives that might be a little bit of a spoiler, so kind of don't pay too much attention to this right now. But we have to have the expansion in order to do these, which I haven't bought the expansion on this account. And then these are basically one-time kind of like achievements that we can do, where some of them are basically the exact same thing as an achievement, and you get a ton of this currency. Where what is this currency used for? It's for astral rewards, as you can see right here, where if you click on this, there is a ton of stuff. Some of the stuff we need to have sold in order to buy. So we can buy this /bless emote tome, which basically gives us a new emote that we can use, and we can only use it if you buy this tome. And this is something that we have seen them add a lot in recent updates to Guild Wars 2, and it's continued here. And then we can buy a special mount skin and some special armor skins, weapon skins. We can buy some crafting supplies, some transmutation charges, some revive orbs if you want, some mystic coins, some gold vision crystals, which is a special crafting material, mystic coins, special crafting materials, some really cool things here, and you can make quite a bit of money from this as well. And I'm mostly kind of just interested in stacking up this astral acclaim, and if we get close to like 1300, I might just drop it on some gold. But I think once we get around to like Secrets of the Obscure, we can start looking a lot more in depth into this and maybe buying some stuff, unless I think of something along the way that would fit into like whatever project we're working on in this series. Where a very nice thing about this system is, if you look at this third tab here, legacy rewards coming soon. A lot of the rewards here are going to be saved, so like this owl griffin skin, this shoulder skin, the slash bless emo tome, they are going to be in here, but they're going to cost a little bit more astral claim than they're currently worth right here, I believe, is what the news or whatever blog post said about it when they announced this system. But we can look at all of these things down here in the future, because this basically resets maybe like every 2 to 3 months, depending on like whatever the content release schedule for Guild Wars 2 is, depending on like development time and stuff like that. So many cycles from now, we can go ahead and start working on getting all the legacy rewards, and I'll pay a little bit of attention to the dailies, and we'll get our daily login reward every time we log in, and you can maybe buy some stuff like this. We're speaking of doing our dailies, we could actually do these if we wanted to, and really the big thing we need to do before I move on to the next part of the game is to create one item with the Mystic Forge, which is something that I have never done before. So let's go ahead. At least I don't think I've done it before. But let's go ahead and come to Lion's Arch, because this is the most accessible Mystic Forge for us. And the Mystic Forge is like a very high level advanced crafting tool, basically a crafting station, like what we did with cooking earlier in this episode, and like all the other crafting stations in the game, where there isn't like set recipes that you can select in the list, but there are recipes that exist in the game that you can put materials into the Mystic Forge, and it's going to output a material for you. And there's hundreds upon hundreds of these different recipes, and they're for making like legendary weapons and like stuff like that. But there are a ton of different recipes, as I just said, and this is kind of loading in, which is fun. But if we come up to this, we can see we have a few different items that we can throw into the Mystic Forge right now if we wanted to, but none of these items are really going to lead to anything that we want. So I'm going to go ahead and really quickly Google a recipe just so I have it 100% in what we need. And I need to come to my bank really quickly just to double check if I have the material I need, which I think I don't have it actually, so that's a little awkward. So let's go ahead and change gears on what I was going to do there, and let's go ahead and come to the trading post here, and we can go ahead and open this up. It looks like my game is really lagging right now. Let's go ahead and type in axe, and let's scroll down to somewhere where I can find something cheap right here. So let's buy 4 mighty axes, and this is what I like to do whenever a Mystic Forge crafting thing is part of the daily, is to just buy 4 axes, because axes are very fast to type in, and you only have to scroll down a little bit to find one worth like 75 copper like we just bought. And you can come to the Mystic Forge, where one of the sets of recipes that exist in the Mystic Forge is kind of like a gambling recipe where you can upgrade weapons and armor, but most of the time people just use weapons. Where if we come into the Mystic Forge, we can put each of these mighty axes into the forge here, and when we click forge, one of 2 things is going to happen. All these axes are going to combine, and it's going to give us an axe of the same quality, so a common quality, or a very rare chance, or not rare, like a more uncommon, I guess, chance, which is fitting, because these 4 axes could come together and they could upgrade a tier into an uncommon axe, which an uncommon axe might be worth a bit more than the axes we put in, depending on the price of everything. But one thing that people like to do is to gamble for what is called precursor weapons, which is basically a special weapon in the game that you can get through drops or through the Mystic Forge that you need to use in order to make legendary weapons, which are like the highest quality of weapons in the game. Where people like to throw in a bunch of weapons of exotic quality and hope that they get a precursor out of gambling like that. And hypothetically, we could buy a ton of mighty axes, throw all of them into the forge, get a bunch of fine ones. Is it fine then uncommon? I forget which way it goes. Green then blue, and then we can throw all those in and we can get rare ones, throw all those in, we can get exotics, and keep throwing the exotics in until we get the precursor axe, which is really cool. And another cool concept about at the Mystic Forge here is if we throw in 4 axes, I believe it's a 100% chance that we're going to get an axe back. So we can kind of guarantee what type of weapon we're going to get depending on what weapon we put in, but it could be random depending on like different weapons that we put in. If we put in like 4 different weapons, it'll be like one of those 4, I believe. But let's go ahead, hit Forge, see if we get an uncommon, or I think Fine is blue and then it goes uncommon. So let's get this, and we just got a common one. So we can go ahead and just salvage this and move on with our life. But we completed this daily, and we can go ahead and get that astral claim, which moving forward, I want to go ahead and head back out into the open road, and we can start doing some map completion, where I want to go to Blood Tide Coast, which we were exploring on our human guardian, and we were exploring like quite some time ago, and I want to go ahead and continue progressing in Blood Tide Coast a little bit, where Blood Tide Coast is a level 45 to level 55 zone. So this might be a little bit rough for our character, and we can do a little bit of stuff starting off in like the earlier areas of the zone, but we can just kind of head south and start working on some of the different map completion objectives around there, where we completed half of the zone previously on our human guardian, and we have another half that we can complete on this Asuran character, which I think I'll complete some of in this episode, and then we can go ahead and complete the rest next episode after we do the next step of the personal story in chapter 5, which if you saw during the time lapse, I selected that we would be helping out the Hylic, so we have that to look forward to. But we can go ahead and just do all these map completion objectives around here, just like we have done on our Guardian. But while we do so, let's go ahead and focus on our Wizard's Vault objectives, where we have one objective to break an enemy's defiance bar, which is going to require us to find a little bit of a higher level enemy, which we might not be able to do in this episode, so we might just kind of end this a little early. But another thing we can do is to perform 3 combo skills in combat. So we are an engineer, and we have different types of things that we can do, like this combo finisher. But if we come into our flamethrower here, we have a combo field, and we also have a combo finisher here in our flamethrower kit. So let's go ahead and throw this down, use that, and then that is one of 3 that we have to do. So we can just do that a couple more times. Throw napalm down and then do flame blast, and that's going to give us a second one. And then one more time, and that is going to complete that objective for us. So all we have to do is either complete a mini dungeon in a map that we haven't been to and that we don't have a character high enough level to even do it, or we can break one enemy's defiance bar. So let's be on the lookout for like a champion or something like that we can fight. But we can come in here, and then we can grab our rewards, and we can see 3 out of 4 complete, so we just need to complete the one more. And now that we are done with this task, let's go ahead and head south. And I think I remember which map completion objectives we completed on our Guardian and which ones we haven't. So I can go ahead and just start working on some of the newer stuff that we haven't done, but I can also just double check before next episode on our Guardian, and then I can kind of just like mark down what we have to finish as we come back. But let's go ahead, come up towards Stormbluff Isle here, where we can grab this waypoint, and then we can head into southern Blood Tide Coast, where I'm thinking I want to come towards this scout right here, because I think we talked to both of these scouts, but the next one is going to be the one that's a little further east, I believe. And the enemies around us are currently the same exact level as we are, and this task right here is a level higher than we are, so we should be a little cautious about how we approach this area, but I think overall it should be pretty fine. So actually, let's go ahead and change gears once again, because there is a very special, what is wrong here? A very special world boss that's going on. So let's go ahead and participate in this, and this is really fun. This is one of my favorite world bosses in the entire game. So we kind of missed the start of it here, but basically there are 3 Asuran basically scientists that are like members of each of the orders, I think, or just the Vigil, that we can basically help out here. Where this is part of Living World Season 1, so the story is a little bit of a spoiler, so I'm not going to really get into it. But basically there is a giant worm in this map that is rampaging across the map, and is basically just like destroying everything, and it requires the heroes of Tyria, like ourselves, to group up and to split into 3 distinct groups to each fight one of the 3 heads of this giant worm. Where actually I should probably join this group in LFG. Again, I left it as in world bosses, because this meta event requires quite a bit of coordination, where we need to work together in order to defeat each of the worms, and each of the 3 groups need to work together to defeat the worms at the same time, where if we don't, we fail the event, and then if we don't kill all the worms, we fail the event, and so on and so forth. And each of the 3 worms have a very distinct set of mechanics connected to them that you need to do in order to complete each worm or defeat each worm, where there is a cobalt head, a crimson head, and an amber head. And my personal favorite of the 3 is the amber head, and that is the one we are at here. And we can look at the other 2 in the future, but you can really only fight one at a time, where there are a lot of intricacies that go into this fight about how things are organized and like timings that people do and stuff like that I'm mostly going to ignore for now, and I'm mostly just going to talk about the fight as it happens. But basically where we were at just previously at this waypoint here is an Asuran that we basically escort here, and then there's one that goes here, and then there's one that goes to the cobalt head all the way down here at this blue Catmander. And basically we have the 3 groups set up now, and all 3 escorts are complete, which means that the jungle worms are about to spawn, and we as Amber can begin fighting Amber here. And there's actually a little bit of a shout out, and hopefully this guild isn't like a bad guild or whatever like internally, but Evolved Jungle Worm Scouts, also known as EVOS, is a very prominent guild in Guild Wars 2 that really focuses on organizing this event, which is called Triple Trouble. It's one of the world boss meta events, and they do a lot of stuff with this event basically, and it's basically a guaranteed kill with them. But as the event starts here, we have the worm that has just popped out of the ground here, the amber worm, and it's basically about to destroy this machine right here, which is a little bit of a spoiler. But we have this plague carrier abomination that the community has nicknamed Steve, that is basically just going to walk over here and is going to teach us the mechanic, or one of the mechanics about this boss fight here, where the worm is going to eat this abomination and it's going to have a very bad time. Basically it just doesn't like that and it's like grossed out and stuff like that. So what we need to do is when the commander says to A-bomb, which they just did, we can go ahead and fight the abomination. Basically when the A-bomb dies, it's going to give a debuff to everyone, and I am so low level that I died there, but fortunately there's a lot of people around us. We should be level 55 right now, so we're like 7 levels under. But basically we come over here and we stack, and just like what the worm did to the A-bomb, it's going to eat us basically, and it's going to have a very bad time when it does that. So it just burrowed under the ground and is about to go up and eat us, and we are now inside the stomach, where we are probably going to die because we are very low level. But if I come over here, we have an unfortunate adventure there, a skeleton of that, someone who died, and we can pick up the harpoon gun and we can start shooting this valve. And now that we have shot the valve and hopefully people heal us, we are about to get spit out by the worm, just like this. And we got an achievement called Worm Barf, and basically we are going to wait for the commander. We are going to aim, so we're going to target the great jungle worm right here, and then when the commander says fire, we're going to fire by pressing 1, and we're going to shoot the amber worm, and then we're going to stack inside of the amber worm, and they are going to throw down fire fields, and then we are going to use our combo finishers in the fire field to give us a bunch of might, and then we're going to start unloading on the jungle worm here, where we have these 3 great jungle worms in the top right corner, where we can see kind of all the progress of everything that is going on here. And we can see that we have our amber worm that is basically just going a little bit down in health, and the other 2 have also gone down in health a little bit. And basically we need to kill all 3 at the exact same time in order to complete this event. And I'm also looking, I think in the next part of the fight is actually a break bar, so we'll be able to finish that part of the Wizard's Vault. But now we have the abomination here, except we have a debuff for 24 more seconds, upset stomach, where the worm is now going to eat us again. So we are mostly going to focus on fighting the veteran jungle worms around here to basically clean up the area a little bit, so we have an easier time fighting the jungle worm. And we are not going to fight the A-bomb, because that is a very bad thing to do that people are doing, and they're probably making the commander very sad by doing that. And as the commander yells no A-bomb, basically the A-bomb is going to take a little bit of time to reset, and we're not going to be able to kind of go in when we want to, and we'll have to wait again. So it looks like the A-bomb died, so we'll just wait a little bit for the A-bomb to reset. We're not going to get the buffs there, and we can basically just run around. There's also nutrients on the ground, which I basically have no idea what that does, but there's always a group of people that like do nutrients for something, so they're important for something. But now it's just a little bit of a waiting game where we are going to go into the Amber Worm once again, and we'll probably do it 2 more times, I think, depending on this group's DPS. The A-bomb resets, so now we can go ahead and go in, so we can DPS the A-bomb down, and we're basically going to do the exact same thing again, where I went down again. I'm taking so much damage. Let's go ahead and use our healing potion here, Elixir H, so we can get the cooldown going while we can be at max health, because we're going to start taking a lot of damage down there. But we can heal up our group a little bit with some regeneration, and we can protect them with some protection. So let's grab this, and then let's target the valve here. And this is just a really cool thing that I like a lot about how we get eaten by the worm, and then we shoot our way out, and then we shoot the worm with the thing that we shot our way out with. It's just really, really cool. But the Crimson Grey Jungle Worm is basically ahead of schedule right now compared to the other 2 worms, so Amber and Cobalt are going to have to catch up. And basically what we are going to do with this burn is we are going to attack it, but we're not going to kill it. So we have to be careful that we don't deal too much damage as a group, and when the commander yells off, we're going to get off of the worm, because we don't want to kill the worm before the other 2 groups are ready, otherwise we fail the event here. So let's go ahead and just deal some damage, and then when it starts getting low on health, we can go ahead and kind of just like lay back a little bit, maybe just do a few of our auto attacks and then completely stop if it gets too low on health. So 20% health, looks like the fight is about to end here, our burn phase, and the commander is off, so we're going to get off, and then we can do the exact same thing as before, where we now have a little bit of downtime, so we are going to work on cleaning up the area here by killing all of these veteran jungle worms. This is a level 57, so 9 levels higher than me, and a lot of these attacks that I'm doing are glancing blows, so we're not dealing a lot of damage to this worm at all. But it looks like all 3 worms are now at a position where we can burn together in a single burn. So we are basically going to organize a specific time all together in map chat while these people kind of ruin everything by killing the A-bomb, which is probably going to push the time back a little bit depending on Cobalt's schedule. Crimson is pretty easy as far as like the mechanic itself has to go. Amber is like in the middle, and then Cobalt is like the hardest from my opinion at least. So the A-bomb is up, so depending on when they organized in map chat, which I don't have map chat enabled right here on my screen, I'm just waiting for the commander to yell A-bomb, and it looks like the A-bomb's going to die again, so we're going to have to wait for it to respawn once again. So it is now time, so we're going to kill the abomination here, and we're going to get our buff here, and let's try to dodge through that. And it looks like we evaded an attack there, so we didn't go down, so I'm smart. Well, I didn't have any evades left, but we can just get resurrected here, I guess. But let's get sent down into the worm's belly, and then, oh, I guess I didn't have the A-bomb buff, so that's a little awkward. But there should be enough people down there in order to finish this fight. So we can see that they're about to get spit out like that, and they're knocked down over there. And then let's go ahead and just join them where we can run this way, and I'll go ahead and buff us up a tiny bit, and then they're going to aim and fire soon, and then we're going to burn all 3 worms. Let's wait for this attack here, and then let's go in and let's start dealing damage to the Amber Jungle Worm, and then the 2 other groups we have in different spots around the map can kill the Crimson Grey Jungle Worm and the Cobalt Grey Jungle Worm, where we have 1 minute for all 3 worms to die, and then we are going to move on to the second phase of this meta, where if you thought it was just the worms, there's a little bit more, where we have now decapitated each, or we're still waiting for Cobalt, but we have decapitated each of the great jungle worm heads, and now we have to fight the heads that are going to be running around and flopping around and dealing a ton of damage to everyone, and we have to kill them all in about 2 minutes, but they are about to emerge here, and then we can start fighting the head, which has a break bar, which is very good for us. So let's go ahead and start dealing some damage. Let's try to break the break bar a little bit so we can get to that achievement. If the break bar breaks, it looks like it's not really progressing there, which is kind of unfortunate for us. Oh, there it goes. I guess no one was just using any other CC skulls. But more importantly, we can focus on damaging the Great Jungle Worm here. Let's go ahead and heal up because I took quite a bit of damage because it's level 55. And then we can kill this Jungle Worm head. And it looks like we have got second place, which is kind of like a fun little mini game that people do, where whichever like worm head dies first, that team is the winner. But now that we're done with that, we can go ahead and go through this portal here that has a chest icon with a red arrow going down into it, and we can teleport back to that waypoint that we were at earlier, and we can get our special rewards, which isn't going to be too much of a special reward since we're only like level 49 compared to like what we could get at level 80, but it's still a little something. And if we come into here, we can get a really cool, the Wurms golden chest, which has a ton of items in it. We can go ahead and kind of just salvage a bunch of this stuff. And we also leveled up to level 49 during that, so we got this pistol that I'll probably also just salvage as well. And that was Triple Trouble, which is one of my favorite meta events in the entire game, and one of my favorite bosses in the entire game. And it's just a lot of fun, and I hope you enjoyed watching that. And if we come over here, here's a little bit of an Easter egg where we have this plaque right here, which is written in New Kryden, and it's actually the speech that I believe the leader of the first group, who were a European guild that defeated the Triple Trouble Worm, gave after that fight, which is a really cool piece of like Guild Wars 2 history that was like immortalized right here. But now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and spend a few more minutes just working on map completion, and we can run around here and complete some of the stuff. So we have a level 50 task right here that we can run into and we can complete. So let's go ahead and kill some of these Risen, and we probably shouldn't be fighting too many Risen at the same exact time, but let's go ahead and just TPS them all down. And I guess really quickly we can come into our achievement page here, and we got a ton of achievements from doing that. And we can come into the general tab here, scroll down to where the world bosses are, and we got Worm Barf, get regurgitated by the Amber Great Jungle Worm, Wormicidal successfully decapitate the Great Jungle Worm in Bloodtide Coast and defeat all 3 of its heads. And then we have Worm Hurdler, avoid getting hit by any of the Great Jungle Worm's spin attacks. So I guess we're good at this game or something. And then we have Worm Decapitator and Worm Slayer for killing each of the 3 different worms. So we have 1 up there. And then there are some other achievements that we can look at doing in the future as well, towards this meta achievement here, which gives 50 achievement points, a mastery point, and the title Great Jungle Worm Slayer, which we have some titles here where we have Worm's Bane, which I think we just got this title from, yes, Wormicidal Maniac, and we got a mastery point as well, so we have that title as well. And then we have a special title called Extra Life, which is from a charity event that you get just from logging in, which I might talk about in a couple of episodes actually, because it's coming up soon. There's like a group of like 5 thralls right there, so maybe let's try to group them up with our Raptor skill here, and then just deal a ton of damage to all of them, and this should be able to complete our task here. Guess we have to kill the brute. So that task is complete. Let's go ahead and really quickly run over here, and then we can get the point of interest. And then I think maybe we'll take a second to run around this side of the map, and we can kind of make a line through the middle of the map, because I believe, if I recall correctly at least, that basically the line that we have here on our Guardian is like right here. So we need to get this waypoint, and then that'll be pretty much like as far north as we have to go on this character to be able to explore everything in this map across 2 characters at least. But if we run around here, we can run through here, and there are some Cymots here at Gleaner's Archway, which is kind of just like a cool random area of the world with a point of interest, and we can get that point of interest. And then let's run a little further north, because we have a point of interest, a waypoint, and a hero challenge up here that we can get. So we have this really cool spot of the road with this waterfall going down into this kind of like sunken ship right here, and this is called a Lost Wreck Passage. And if we come down over, I think it's on the other side of the ship. Over here, we have a map portal, and this map portal takes us to Lornar's Pass, and I pointed out this map portal when we were on the other side of it, when we were getting that cool vista that became the thumbnail of that video. But let's go ahead, and we got the waypoint, so let's complete this hero challenge here, where this might be a little rough, but let's just, there's so many river drakes here. Okay, maybe kite them towards the waypoint a little bit, and we can kind of like cheese it maybe. Or we can just kill them all, which might be the better plan. Which, so far, it's looking kind of good for our goals here. So I'm kind of just like kiting them around in a circle. When I threw down my net, that was a little helpful. The River Drake Broodmother definitely has quite a bit of health, but it seems like we are being a little successful here. And after a bit of a fight, we were able to get the Broodmother's health all the way down to 0% or 1% or whatever. So I guess I accidentally attacked this River Drake here. Let's go ahead and deal with him. And then I believe that is everything right here. So we can waypoint back to here and start completing this second task. So we have another task here with an event going on at the same time where we can fight a bunch of Risen. So let's go ahead and just work our way through this area. We can grab this point of interest right here, and I think there's a vista. Yeah, there's a vista back here that we missed. So let's go ahead and climb up this area a little bit. Or this is like an old dredge operation. So let's come around here, and the vista is right up there. Or I think we just climb up here a little bit, and then we want to jump up a little higher, and I think, these boxes maybe, or somewhere over here. Maybe here, and then here, and then who knows. Perhaps here. Oh wait, is it right here? Oh yeah, it's right there. Okay, let's take a look at this vista. And we are very close to leveling up to level 50, where I believe once this Risen Thrall dies, we will successfully level up, and that means that we have unlocked the next chapter of the personal story, which is chapter 5, that we'll go ahead and start doing next episode. But as we complete this task, let's go ahead and leave out of this area here, and we can go ahead and start going towards the scout here that we can talk to, which is going to open up some more tasks for us to do, which I think we talked to these two scouts already, but it never hurts to listen to them twice about what's going on in this area of the world. And then we can check west of here if there are any more points of interest that we need to do, which I think there might have been an exit further north, but I believe there is one right around here that we can go through. Oh, there's two right here actually, I believe. So let's go ahead, get back up on our raptor, and then let's go north around this island here, and let's talk to this scout.
When any race of Tyria faces extinction, it portends dark times for us all. The Priory came here to investigate the disappearance of the Skrit and the Dredge. We found ourselves up to our necks in Quaggins and Hylek, seeking refuge from the undead of Ore. While our order pushes south to scout and study the risen monsters, some of us have been tasked to stay behind and do what we can to preserve these innocent creatures.
So I think when we return to Bloodtide Coast, we can begin in this area of the road where we can go this way, complete these two tasks here, and then grab this stuff and grab any of the things down here where we can complete this. And then we have the scout here, which is going to take us to the final task, I believe, in this map, which is right here, which we can't see. We have to talk to the scout, and we can get all of the different pieces of map completion objectives along the way. But that's going to be at the end of next episode after we do chapter 5 of the personal story, and this is the end of this episode. Wish there was a lot of stuff that we did in this episode. It was probably one of the most content dense episodes of the entire series. So I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all learned something from any of like the 3-4 different things that I taught in this episode. But I hope you all are taking good care of yourselves. Remember to drink some water, check your posture, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time in the world of Tyria. Goodbye.